Okay, welcome back to lesson 35. Let's just dive straight in. We are going to now do the long hair at the back of the head, the ponytail. So let's just bring in a path curve, Shift A, curve, and then the path curve. We're going to rotate it on the y-axis 90 degrees. We're going to just noticed. We're going to just Control Z that back, and then go to Edit mode, and then move it with the transform gizmo, keeping the origin place in the center. So we're going to place it down, halfway down like so, and then we're just going to stretch on the z-axis using a little cube there just to stretch a little bit above the hair just so we can bend it down and across, and then right click to subdivide. For now, let's just use the pipette to select this top one just so we can kind of see what it'll look like. This isn't necessary because we will use a different circle curve. Anyway, I've added in a new subdivide here just to give the curvature of the hair a nice looking curvy bend. And we want to keep it, we want to make sure we keep it in like an S shape, so it just looks like it's swaying all the way down. As I've seen a lot of artists do, they like to keep the hair in an S shape. It looks good in artist view, and it kind of looks good for like 3D models as well. Obviously we will be using this to rig, so we're going to keep it in an S shape anyway, and then we can just use the bones to flow through the hair. So once we put it into position, doesn't have to be accurate at the moment, we are actually going to bring in a circle curve. So let's bring in a new object, a new circle curve. Let's place it above the other curves we have used, and then scale that down. And then what we're going to do is reselect our long ponytail, make sure object select, use the pipette, and then select the new circle we just created, just like so. We cancelled the one that was in there. And then we're going to press Shift S, put the 3D cursor on the back of that face on the hairband, and then we're going to select the vertex on the hair and right click and snap to cursor. This is very handy when you want to snap specific vertices to a specific angle, and we will do that again in just a moment. I'm just scaling down and moving these to put in line. So I'm just going to hide the hair. We're going to select the hairband again, select the face, Shift S to put the 3D cursor. We're going to press E to extrude this vertex, and then again right click and snap to cursor. And then we're snapping the end of the hair to the cursor. We've then gone down and scaled it down a bit, and now we're on to the editing of the hair. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use this circle, and we want to increase different sizes of the hair. So starting from the very bottom, I'm going to scale it down and make it really thin. I'm going to select the next two vertices and scale it up. Next three vertices and then scale them up even a little bit more. And then we're going to scale it down up, I think, a little bit more, and then scale it down. This bit you can just play about with to see what looks best for you. I was just playing about to see, looking at the sizes. If you see any sort of geometry squishing or any bizarre tearing, it probably just needs the vertices to be stretched a little bit further away from each other. That's no problem. Or if you feel like that vertex is there's too much geometry changes, just press X and delete the vertex, because sometimes an extra vertex can just get in the way depending on how curvy and how much you want to use the curves to bend. So for this, at the bottom, I believe I extruded the very tail end. I think I did that a little bit later on. But before we do that, I was then using these handles again to select the different handles. If you select all, press A to select all in edit mode, and then press V for Victor and go down to 3. That will then allow you to use all the handles on the vertices on the circle curve. And as you can see, I was just lining it up just like so. So then now it's a bit more easier to see the pattern on the curve. And I'm just going to stretch out the hair on the sides and then use the handles to bevel the edges to make them nice and curvy, and this will leave a really nice pattern throughout the whole hair. So what I'm going to do here is just now edit and make my hair. Sometimes you can be in bird's eye view, from top down view looking down, and you can just hit G and move each vertex if you wish. Sometimes a little bit quicker, a little bit more random. We're not going to mirror the hair because it needs to be sort of like non-symmetrical, because hair is not really symmetrical, I believe. So I mean, you could mirror it if you prefer to, but we kind of want a nice looking flow with the ponytail. And of course the hair on the head is mirrored, which again you can always go back, unmirror it and change the location on some of them to make it a little bit more, to make free, just so it looks like it's just messy hair if you wish. So I'm just moving the vertices, just moving the handles and making the geometry bend and curve like so. I don't want to make sure it's too sharp, so I am being very carefully when moving all of them, and also just trying to make them all stay in a circle. Then now I'm just clicking each vertex again and just scaling and making sure that S shape is there. So when the curvature tends to get too tight in one area, you'll see this horrible like squashing happening. That just needs the vertexes to be spread out a little bit further, like that, for example. And if you press Control X, you can delete the vertex. So I want to keep it like that for now, and then move it a little bit and keep them in lines so that's nice and narrow. Just press Alt S to scale a few vertices down there. I think I will select all the vertices and scale it all down by pressing Alt S nearer to the end. So we've got the little flick of the tail at the end there, and I was just having a look to see what it looks like if I've moved along the hair a bit, but decided to move it back because I wanted to keep the S sort of figured shape as it's flowing down. And we're going to move on to the hairband. So selecting the edge loop at the top, make sure you go to Edit and Preferences and then go to Input. Make sure that Emulate 3 buttons, if you're using a graphics tablet, is turned off. That is so then you can select the edge loops. If you're using a Wacom like me, need to make sure that's turned off in either to do this. So I've selected both of the edge loops and pressed Control B to bevel, and then I just right clicked, scroll wheel to add extra edge loops in, and then just right click and confirm. I just selected the edges here, added some more edge loops by pressing Control R, and we just made a little bit of a hairband there. We might change it later on, we're not too sure. Just added some edge loops to it. So looking at the hair in X-ray mode, we want the geometry and the topology a lot lower because it's quite high. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to suggest turning everything down to 3 over here on the right hand side, as you can see under the shape settings, under the curved properties. On the resolution, we want to change the hair itself and the control circle. We want to change them all down to 3, and then the geometry will look much better for best performance for, say, VR chat, for example. Or if you want it to keep it as a model for 3D printing, then absolutely keep it nice and high. Anyway, hopefully I'm going to go over this, and I'll catch you in the next lesson.